Dak have the best case for MVP right now?
Right now, he does. I think that's legitimate to say. Obviously, Tyreek Hill is up there for me. Brock Purdy is certainly up there for me. But over the last 7 games, Dak Prescott has thrown for an average of 310 passing yards, 22 touchdowns, just 2 interceptions, a 119.6 passer ratings, 22 touchdowns over the last 7 games, a tie for the most over a 7-game span in Cowboys history. Not to mention the fact that when you look at him, he's completing 72% of his passes on 3rd down, Jeff. On 3rd down. And so I look at it from that perspective. I look at their record. They're atop the NFC East, at least for the time being. They're a top 2 seed in the NFC. The way that he's been playing, they're throwing the football nearly 56% of the time compared to the 44% of the time. Last year, he led the league with 15 interceptions in just 12 games played. This year, he's on pace for 8 interceptions. They're winning football games. He's cut down on the turnovers. He's elevated his level of efficiency. He's showing up on 3rd downs. He's throwing the football, albeit against subpar competition. But when you beat down and bum rush the Philadelphia Eagles, and then you go before that, you went to a road game in Philadelphia and you played lights out even though y'all lost. I think that when you look at it from that perspective, and you can see the vast majority of his work since the loss to the San Francisco 49ers, I think right now he has to be the leading candidate for MVP.
For me, I think it's Brock Purdy by a smidge. But I will say this, Dak Prescott is like bacteria. He's starting to grow on me. And so if you said that he's your MVP, I won't fight you. It's hard to me to give a compelling argument, but I will say this. Brock Purdy is 2nd in touchdown passes, 3rd in passing yards, and he's 22nd in pass attempts. So he's not throwing the ball nearly as much as some of these guys that have the numbers. But he has great numbers, great touchdown to interception ratio, and he's number 1 in QBR. And remember what he did to that Cowboys team? You remember what he did to that Philadelphia Eagles team? He took the ball. He threw those touchdowns. He had those yards. So right now, it's a horse race, and down the stretch they come. If Dak wins, I won't even be disappointed. But right now, I got Purdy by a smidge.
Both of y'all make great arguments for both your guys, but I'm gonna say it this way. I was around for like 50 touchdown seasons from Manning, right? Like I've seen the greatest of greats, right? From a quarterback perspective. I would tell you neither quarterback, in my opinion, of both of the guys you have separated themselves from the other guy.
Okay.
And so that puts them, kind of arm in arm. Like you said, they're in a race down the chute, right? Tyreek Hill is on pace to do something that has never happened in the NFL. Like, to me, when you talk about the most valuable player in the NFL, a guy who's doing something that has never been done, got to get consideration, right? Like, and last night, when he's injured, you see what this offense does without him. This guy is averaging almost 16 yards a catch, right? He's got almost 100 catches. He got 12. Like, anything you're asking this guy to do, he is doing. And really, if you want to say who's the catalyst for this Miami football team, not just the offense, it would be Tyreek Hill. And I'll take it even further.
Okay.
Calvin Johnson has the single season record. I think it was like 1964, maybe 64.
Yeah, 1964.
1964. Okay. If he were doing what Tyreek Hill has done to this point, I think his numbers would be somewhere like 3,400. I mean, it's an insane number.
Right.
And I'm just trying to frame it to say this: what Tyreek Hill has been able to do this season is silly. And when you're talking about setting a record in our game for as long as our game has been played, it would be a shame to me to have 2 really good quarterbacks who've had really good seasons winning the award because it's a quarterback award, as opposed to a guy who is setting a historic number in our game. Now, he's got to get to that number. I'll say that. He's got to get to that number.
Right.
But, man, what he's doing, it's insane.
I would say this to you, Jeff, and I'll let Shannon, I'll come to you after I say this. Couple of things. I get that. I'm with you. I felt that way about Tyreek Hill too, but I think he's going to have to get over 2,000 yards in order to get that to happen. And the other thing that I'll say is that it's really the biggest case that you can make for him as MVP is what the hell is happening in Kansas City. You got people that can't catch passes. If you're the Kansas City Chiefs, I'm looking at you as a fan, as an organization, I'm looking at you as a fan. I'm like, you let that brother go? You took away that security blanket from Patrick Mahomes? How could you do that? Go ahead, Shannon.
I think this might be the closest MVP race that we've seen in a while. And you mentioned Tyreek, you mentioned Brock Purdy, and you mentioned Dak Prescott. Don't count out Christian McCaffrey. He's having an outstanding year.
Absolutely.
Scoring touchdowns, running the football, catching the football.
Yep.
I don't think it's going to be like it normally is Jeff Saturday. 48 to 2 votes. I think you might get 20, you might get 15, you might get 10, and you might get 6 votes somewhere else.
Yeah.
Gonna be close.
Dak Prescott's only been off target on 11% of his throws this season. That's the best in the NFL.